contemporary theology and politics. And I am going to explain this in this half hour. The categories are empty signifier, fight for truth and not for rights, to know who judges, sacred money, and corruption as profanation. I am going to speak about this. If we want to look for precedents in the history about populism, we can think, for example, was César Augusto a populist? Or maybe Franklin Roosevelt? Or maybe Hitler or Mussolini? Or Juan Domingo Perón in Argentina? Or Trump? Or Pope Francis? Why? Because in the actuality, the people call populism everything. Everything that they don't like in politics is populism. No? So, in this category, we can put all of them. But populism is not a person. When I am speaking about populism, I take a very famous author about this, and the name is Ernesto Laclau, hegemonic and strategic populism, and all my theory is from him. So, populism is not a person. It's not a person. Populism is not an ideology. Populism is not a political party. It's not a social movement. It's not power of the mass, and it's not a pathology of the people. But if we ask to the people, what is populism? The people say, it's a person. Maduro, Trump. It's an ideology. If you speak supporting the workers, you are populist. Or maybe it's a political party. Republicans or Peronisms or social movement, or the people is crazy. Or these people don't know anything about politics. That's the reason why they vote Maduro or Trump or Christina Kirchner or, you know. But populism is not any of the things. What is populism? This is a good definition. It's an hegemonic logic, discourse to take the power. And the idea is listening, understanding, and satisfying popular demands. In theological method from Latin America, the method is to see, to judge, to act. So, populism is a logic. And the logic consists in listening what the people want, or claim, or demand, trying to understand exactly if that things that they are claiming is exactly what they want, and then immediately to act to satisfy that. If you know how to do that, you can take the power. You will be in the White House. Populism is a left or a right logic, because some people, everything is populism. Maduro is populism, Trump is populist, Pope Francis is populist, but there is a big difference between Trump and Maduro. So, can the populism be from the left? Yes, and from the right? Too. Depend which demand you take and satisfy. That's the idea. For example, when the hegemonic discourse is about democratic demand for particular interests in an advanced industrial context, it is populism from the right. What is exactly a democratic demands? The demands that the actual government and the system can satisfy. For example, if I am in a poor context, if I demand for same-sex marriage, that is a democratic demand because the system and the government can satisfy that demand. But if I am in a so poor context and my demand is about more salary, and the country lost all demand, that is not a democratic demand, because the system has not the possibility to satisfy that demand. For example, Maduro, for 10 years, Venezuela had money for satisfy demand. But then the international business changed, and they don't have money, maybe, for satisfy the demand. So that demand that the people reclaim to the government is impossible to satisfy. So that are not democratic demand, if not popular demand. The difference is, if we are, for example, in the United States, it's an advanced industrial context. So here, the popular demands always are democratic demands, because the system has the possibility to satisfy the demands. But if we are in an development context, the demands are popular demands, because are not demands for particular interest, if not demands for social necessities. That is a big difference, because exactly in the moment of the populisms, we must understand which demands was articulate to put this man in the power. Was particular demands, particular interest, I want more money, I want a car, I want to travel to Bahamas. That are particular demands, articulate at the same moment. And a person can take that demand and say, okay, I can give you money for go to Bahamas, I can allow you to buy another car, but are particular demands. And that is populism from the right. Populism from the left is the necessity to eat, for example. The people need to eat to survive to the next day. That is not a particular interest. Any of us need to eat to survive to tomorrow. That is an universal demand. That is the difference between particular demands or universal demands. If the demand is for the life. Here with this this experimental draw, I try to understand you how is exactly the logic of the populism. The category important is agonisms. Agonisms is people who is suffering. Why the people is suffering? Because one part of the people who is included determines to other part of the people to something. For example, you are poor, or no, maybe you are migrant, or you are woman, or you are indigenous, or you are Islamic or Jewish. For that, you are the worst. You are a bad person, you are criminal, you are all day long and drunk, no? I determine in a discourse to the other part of the people to be the worst. After that, when I did the difference, I did a discursive difference. After that, I can exploit them. I pay to you nothing or few because you are not like me. I am the one. You are the other. You are lucky that I give to you a plate of food. You are the worst in this society. You are a migrant, you are a woman. So, usually we think that the poverty is the consequence of the inequality. But it's on the contrary. Because first, we do the inequality in the discourse, then we have the poverty in one part of the society. So, this is a discursive hegemony. One is proto-agonisms, protagónico. Protagonist is proto, before the agonisms. Because when this part of the people take the word, take the word, name, determine to the other to be the worst. So, they put the other part of the people in the agonisms. And they have not word like language. They only come to use the symbolic language. So, these people are visible and audible. They have the TV, they have the microphone, they can publish books, they have the word. But all that people are in the silence. Nobody listens, nobody gives to them a microphone to ask them, what do you mean? So, if one day, for something that we have no time here to explain it, this part of the paper take the language, not the word, but another form of language, a symbolic language, and manifest this, their agonisms. In that moment, we have the antagonisms, because we have the protagonical and then the antagonisms. This is the antagonisms. It's only one moment. It's a political moment when we have the society in a division in two parts, protagonist and antagonist. This is populism. This is exactly the logic of the populism. It's not an ideology. It's not a political party. It's only a logic. When that people who is invisible, inaudible, take the word and put in front the other and say, we are here. We are here. That's enough. For example, this is the inclusion. What part of the society is included? Why they are included? Because their demands are satisfied. So they are in unity. They are the unity. This is the signifier of class. Class and unity is the same. The more difficult things to take in the politics is to arrive to the unity. That is for all the history of the philosophy, how to take the unity. They have the unity. Why? Because all their demands are satisfied. So they are in connection and they are included in the society. But the other part of the society, what is that? That is all the demands that the society or the government can't to satisfy. So those are floating elements. Elements or demands that this government can't to satisfy. But this demand, for example, those are from migrants. Those are from workers. That are for, say, women. But they are not the same. You can see are different. They are not the same. And other things, they are one against the other. They are not in unity. They are in division. So that's the reason why they can't take the power. Because the unity, the class, is here. They are not a class. They are unconnection workers. But they are a problem for the system. The system, to survive, must all the time watching how much floating elements are outside, and if one of that element can to do equivalence. Is this? What happened here? All these different demands, one day can do this. Stay at the same level and get equivalence. In the other, all the pictures are all the circles are different. So they are in conflict between them. This is not a problem for the government because they are in division. They never come to take the power. But we have a problem if one day one of these demands can represent all the demands. And in that moment, all the demands are are in the same level. All the demands are one demand. And that happens only when one of these demands can to be empty. This is the name of empty signifier. So, one demand, for example, migrants, can to be empty, and if you are an empty, if this demand is an empty signifier, so this demand can represent all the demands. Like a dollar. If I have a dollar, maybe $1 million, I have all the possibilities. I have only an empty signifier. I have $1 million. But with $1 million, I can to buy a house, kill my enemy, buy drugs, travel around the world. It's all the possibility. It's the big empty signifier. That happened in politics. Well, maybe God is what is God? Everything. The truth, the beauty, the power. So, the important in populism is not one person, is not one ideology. The important is one demand. The hegemonic in the populism is not in military power, is not in a political party, is not in an ideology, is in one demand. One demand can do this. Arrive to the union of the workers. In this case, we are in problem, because we have the field, the societal field, divided in two parts, two units. If we have this, in 20th century, this was a revolution. Not in 21st century. Why? Because the unity in the 20th century, the cause of the unity was the ideology. And the program was a political party. But now, in 21st century, the cause of the unity is not an ideology. It's one demand, an empty signifier. And here, there isn't a political party. This is only for a moment. Tomorrow, the people continue going to work, stop in the light, in the avenues. It's only one moment, because there isn't a political party. It's a union, but it's not a problem. We have no problem with revolution here, because it's only a political moment, for a moment. And only in that moment we have the people. The Spanish is el pueblo. And I would like to explain this, because in English, the people is plural. But in Spanish, it's a singular. Because el pueblo, the people, is not 2 million of persons. Not that part of the city. Not the poor workers. No. People is only this part that today can do this. Equivalence. Maybe tomorrow it changes. It's not the same people. Today, that's the reason why one candidate in this presidential election maybe have 45 or 55% of the votes. But in 2 years, they have only 2%. Why is that? Because the reason why the people vote for him was not an ideology, was not a program from a political party, it was only a good articulation of discursive demands. It's only a moment. The people is not all the poor people or that part of the people, it's only the people that today can articulate demands after one demand. So, populism is a new style of democracy? No. Maybe the democracy is populism. Because the democracy is the government of the people, by the people, for the people. But who is the people? That's the problem. Because the people vote. One of them, for example, Evo Morales, and now you go to Bolivia, and the indigenous said to me, he is not an indigenous.
Indigenous, yeah.
He is not an indigenous. I said, why? No, he is not an indigenous. It's incredible, really. It's the government of the people, by the people. When you have one from the poor part of the people in the government, nobody wants him. Neither the people, neither the poor people. It's incredible. And for the people. We are not sure that one person who is from the poor part of the people and arrive to the government, when he is there, take a decision for the poor people. Maybe it's in the contrary. So, the important in this moment of the politics in the 21st century is to understand not what is the people, it's not where is the people. Where is the people today? And the people is in the demand. If we want to know where is the people, we must listen or try to understand where is the demand that can to do the equivalence between all the demands. The hegemonic is in one demand, not in one person. That is important to listen, which is exactly the demand that can do the equivalence between all the unsatisfied demands in the society. So, the object that the politics must to see today in 21st century is not ideology, if not the demand, one demand, which is the important demand. That's the reason why the Pope said reality is more important than the idea in politics. But we have a problem because demands are the demands are not in the language of the world. The demands of the people are expressed in a symbolic language. And the symbolic language is in graffitis, is in a rap, is in music, is in a movie, is in publicity. It's not easy to understand what is exactly the popular demand, because it's not clear. It's not a word. It's not a sentence. It's a manifestation in a symbolic language. So, all the marketing techniques or published techniques are so important now to understand what is exactly the politics. But to understand the culture, we must understand in which moment of the culture we are. Because sometimes we listen that the worst was the industrial revolution because produced capitalism and exploited workers. Maybe, but one good thing that comes from the industrial revolution is the political party also. Before industrial revolution, we had not political party for the poor part of the people. How was the fight before industrial revolution? The fight was horizontal. Was two parts of the up of the society, two different families in the bourgeoisie fighting between them for money or territory or no? But this fight was masked in religion categories. So who fight really? The poor people, the soldiers. But the soldiers was fired in a war that wasn't their war really. Was the war of other people, the rich people. but they was involved in that war with the category, this is the war for truth. We are fighting for the true relation or anything. In the Industrial Revolution, it changed because the fight is not between two parts of the rich people, it's horizontal. If not, it's vertical. It's between rich people and poor people. And one of these parts did their own political party of the owners and the political party of the workers. It is new. This is new. And the fight was between up and down, not for truth, not for a relation truth, if not for social rights. The workers stopped to was interested in which is the true God, or that is not my problem. My problem is I want my rights. But we need to work to have a discussion about religion, not here in the States, not in the government. This is a secular space. Here, we are to speak about social rights. If you want to speak about truth of the religion, in other part, that is a secular space. But now, in the 21st century, we are again in an horizontal fight. But now, not between the bourgeoisie, if not between the poor. Poor are fighting between them in the streets for drugs, for the shoes. That is terrible. Poor are killing poor. But they are not fighting for social rights. They are fighting another time for the truth, but a truth that is not their truth. They are fighting for the money of the rich people. For example, in Latin America, Lula is a bad person because when he was president, he takes the money of the rich. Nobody put in question which is the origin of the, ¿cómo se dice? Fortunas, the riqueza?
Wealth.
The wealth. If you have money, and your father and your grandfather, it's okay. But this poor man, how is it possible that he has money? He has money, he takes the money from the rich people. That is impossible. The money is something sacred and must be in sacred hands. If you take the money and put the money in the hands of people who is not rich, you are doing a profanation. So the people is fighting now between them and putting in the government persons that are against of their interest. And they know that they will be worse after that election, but they vote for them. Why? Because they want the truth. They want justice. The money must go again to the sacred hand. This is the situation in Latin America now. So, our question at the beginning was, what is empty signify? Now we know what is empty signify. It's one demand that can represent all the demands. Today, we are all with women. We support the women, so we go to the street together to fight for feminism. I don't like feminism, maybe, but that demand can get the unity. So we go after that demand. You know? So that is the empty signifier. It's one demand that has the ability to represent all the demands. That is today the true amenaza? Threat. It's not ideology. Marxism is not a problem anymore. It's not a problem in the 21st century. The problem is, which is the demand that to have this capability to make the equivalence and make the unity of the poor part of the people. And that empty signifier can be from the left or from the right. Nobody knows. That's the reason why the people say, it's the same Donald Trump as Pope Francis. Well, maybe. If Donald Trump has the ability to take one demand from the people and satisfy that demand, because he has the possibility for satisfy that demand, and that demand can do the equivalence between all the demands, he will be the president. And this is a problem with Pope Francis too, because when he speaks with one empty signifier, he can do also the equivalence between all the demands, because Pope Francis has more popularity outside the Catholicism, not only for Catholic people, outside the Catholicism too. So here maybe we have a confrontation, because those men had the possibility to articulate and satisfy demands. That's the reason. In the past, maybe we can say, okay, Juan Domingo Perón, for example, in Argentina, or Franklin Roosevelt, Ernesto Laclau said that Franklin Roosevelt was the first populist in the history. But this is another conference. And now we can understand that populism is not a person. It's a demand. It's not an ideology. It's nothing under the populism. It's only a moment of articulation. It's not a political purpose. It's not a social movement. It's not the power of the masses. And it's not the pathology of the people. Because the people think that the people is crazy when the people vote for something against them. But we can explain that. Because what is corruption and what is sin? The difference between a corrupt or a sinner. A sinner is a person who did something bad, he knows that that is bad, and he tried to hate it and to correct his act. But the corrupt, and this is Pope Francis' position, corruption is another thing. Who did that, don't see that like something bad. He's proud of that, he showed that, and he tried that all the people recognize that like a good thing. I have a lot of money, I am between 10% of the population in the world that have the 90% of the money in the world, and I am in the top of the magazine. I am proud of that. This is a big and interesting difference between corruption and sin. The people don't perceive the riqueza, esa palabra no puedo recordar, like something bad. But the people recognize the poor like something bad. If you are poor, you feel bad. You try to hate that you are a worker, that you are from a worker family. No? You try to show that you are in the 10% of the rich people and your family is so important, of course. This is so important to understand what the society showed us like good. So, when the people vote for something against them, they are wrong? No, the problem is, where is the reason and what the reason exhibit to me what is good and what is bad. This is Kant, no? For the philosophers here. But the reason in the past was the theologians. The theologians represent the reason in the medieval age. And they told us what was the truth. They show us, this is true, this is good for you, and this is bad. What do you want? Okay, I want the good for me. After the revolution, the Industrial Revolution, who was the reason? The scientific. The science takes the place of the theology, and the scientific showed to us, exhibit to us, what is good or what is bad. But now, in the 21st century, who is or where is the reason? In the mass media. And mass media exhibit to us what is good and what is bad. So, the people, of course, chose what the reason, now in the mass media, show them like the good. And reject what the mass media show them like the bad. That's the reason they vote for rich people and corrupt people. Because that don't appear in the mass media like the bad, if not like the good. Entonces, so, if we want to change this, we must work not in the political field, if not in the theological field. Because the problem is in the foundation of the culture. What the people believe, in what the people believe today. So Pope Francis, for example, Laclau or Chantal Mouffe, they said, to do politics today, we must do a frontier, a line, a division, to put the things clear, because this is the problem. The poor people vote for rich people, rich people speak like poor people. Politics is impossible then. We must to do a division. We must to be a frontier and put the things in their place. But this is that Pope Francis is trying to do. When he speaks culture of the day versus culture of the life of the encounter. To think in God like one, or to think in God like one and true, is so different. Because if you think in God like one, your imago Dei in a man is the individual. But if you think in God like true, the imago Dei in the man is the relation. In the culture of the day, the important is the pathos, like egoism, a man thinking in himself. But in the culture of the encounter, the important is the ethos, is the solidarity, is relationship in solidarity. The economy, in this part, is inequality, but in the culture of the encuentro, is looking for equality. In the culture of the death, politics is administration only. If we have money, we pay salaries. If not, I don't know. Kill between you is not my problem. But in the culture of the encounter, politics is dialogue, is relation, is dialogue. In this part, unity is identity. If you are like me, same color, same ethnia, we are inequality. But if you are different from me, because the idea of equality is identity, not unity in the difference, I must to eliminate you. This is so important. In this part, unity is understanding like identity. Another thing that is not identity with me, I must to annihilate. But in the other mode to understand the culture, we can think in an equality system where the unity is in the difference. Another thing is, for example, in this part of the culture of the day, cultural paradigm is technocratic. But in the other, the paradigm is Trinitarian. In a technocratic paradigm, the people who must take the power is the people who went to the university, the experts. They don't know how to administrate the goods, not the workers. And now the workers are discarded because workers in the war, they have not jobs. But they continue being workers because to survive to the next day, they must do anything. If they are not employed in a business, maybe they are employed in the narco traffic, in the international organization of the crime. But be sure that people work to survive to the next day. The problem is where they are working. So, it's important to understand, this is the technocratic paradigm. Understand the work like a job with a salary. In the other mode of culture, we can understand work, but not necessarily like a job. If we are here, professor and students, we are workers. And somebody paid for us to read a book for 8 hours. No? And we consider that a worker. But nobody wants to pay to a poor young to read a book. No. If you want money, go to work. We can pay to them for play guitar, for play piano, or read a book. No, that is not work. But for us, it's work. Which is the difference? It's only the perception. So it's interesting to understand this because here the principle is the accumulation, and there is the law. The right of the property is absolute. But in the other mode of culture, the right of the people who are workers is important. But this is not easy. This is nice here, no? In this, nice, it's romantic. But in the real life, nobody really thinks that it's more important people who are workers than my property. And it is so old, no? In the Gospels, if you want to go to the sky, you must sell your thing. It's important because Pope Francis said we must change the culture, the foundation of the culture in which the people believe. What is that the people perceive? If the people perceive money, corruption, like something good, that is impossible. So this is the populism. We are in a populist moment, and if somebody takes the power, it's because he knows to take the empty signifier. In this case, the people confuse Pope Francis or Trump or anybody, but Pope Francis is speaking about another thing. He's not really taking a demand, an empty signifier to be in the top of the magazines in the world. He's trying to change, really, theologically, the foundation of the culture. This is the connection between theology and culture, in my opinion. And thank you very much for your attention. And sorry about my English.
Well, we've got about 15 minutes for discussion. If people want to raise questions or make comments.
Clarification. You talked about the problem in Latin America being the poor fighting with the poor. Could you explain again under the model why this is happening, and do you see another equivalent empty signifier that might replace this?
Now we are fortunately, because we can read books or to see Netflix. You know Netflix?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, in Netflix, we have a lot of spectacular series about narco-trafficking. Narco-traffic.
Uh-huh.
In English or in Spanish.
Drug trafficking.
Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there you can see how is poor killing poor. The people who is fighting there.
But why do they support it? Is it fear? Is it agreement? Is it because
Well,
of power?
The problem is that the work stopped in the work. The people has no place to work, and they need to eat.
Right.
Because this morning when I wake up, I need to unplug my cellular, my watch, my hair. But the only energy my body has anyway, which is the energy, from where I take the energy to survive. I need a wire for this, but for my body I need to eat. The people need to eat. How the people come to eat? Working, but no more working. So they must work in some things, and they work in criminal organization. If we work in a fabrica, in an industry, you have 200 years of rights. Union workers fight for that. So it's not easy. When you are right there, your boss don't kill you. If you arrive 5 minutes later, your boss don't kill you. Say, okay, this month at the end, maybe you perceive $10 less because you arrive later. But if you work outside the system, outside the right states, in the absolute states, if you arrive 10 minutes later, they kill you. So the poor are fighting between them. They are killing, poor are killing poor. When the people saw the Netflix series, at the first glance, you only see bad persons. They are bad, so bad. But they are the barbarians, barbaros. But no, they are show you how the system are eliminate the poor. It's so sad. It's so sad. The reason is the work. We need to think in another mode to work, to employ all that persons.
So what you're saying is populism doesn't necessarily support the best interest of people. It's an interest that...
Well, the problem, we need political parties again. This is populism, but nobody is talking about this is the best.
Right.
We need political parties. We need organization. We need two parts in the society, the owners and the workers, in a table, in a parliament, looking for rights. But if you eliminate that, if you put in the head of the people that politics is something bad, if you speak about rights, you are Marxist, everything, the consequence are that. Poor killing poor. We need political parties. We need that. The Pope insists politics is important. He said it's the more high mode of virtue to politics. If we don't introduce politics again, the consequence is not the right state, it's not the absolute state, where your life is anything. That is a big problem. I don't know how this is a mission, but we must understand the importance of the politics.
So what you're saying then is like there aren't two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans used to be the kind of party of the owners and party of the workers. Those lines have gotten blurred now, and the empty signifier is something like the wall, right? The wall has become the symbol then that people can rally around, even though it doesn't really articulate any serious demands, or it's a kind of symbol.
The wall here in the States.
Yeah, Trump's
Yes,
wall
the wall to Mexico,
is a symbol. It's not that people are really trying to solve a real problem. It's more a kind of symbol, an empty signifier that gathers all of these other demands.
Well, that is the case if the people who vote for Trump was people from the Republican Party. maybe that division is not more in the state. I don't know, but maybe people who support Trump in the past was from the Democratic Party, you know? I am not sure. That is a problem important. I don't know how it's in the States. For that, we need to see the numbers, how they vote. But here is another topic, because here the vote is not an obligation.
Right.
This is a big difference. But in that case, the wall is an empty signifier.
Yeah, I think it's, looking at this theology of the people and the culture, you've sort of got a dichotomy or a split between how people view the world, either religiously or culturally or maybe politically. And I think the one there is, I think you said Pope Francis reflects this, God being the one and triune, and the Trinity being a relationship.
Yeah.
And therefore, if it's a relationship, it's how they interact with one another and represent different thoughts or ideas, one God with three persons. Whereas if you look at God as a singular, as a one entity, I can see how you can go down that line from, especially I was looking again with the property being absolute or something to, I can't even see it there.
Distribution.
Yeah, yeah.
Rights.
Yeah, and it's very anecdotally, and it's not data-driven. It's just, I want somebody to counter this. Is there certain religions that look, they may say they're triune, but it's really the single God, and they tend to quote more from the Bible, but certain sections, versus the philosophy of the Trinity, and how the people should relate to one another. I'm sort of going off on a different tangents here. But in South America, especially in Chile, there's been apparently a movement away from the Catholic Church, and I understand that evangelicals now represent at least half the population. So I'll start with this. Have you seen a difference in the political focus in that country, and is it for the good or the worse, or does it make any difference whatsoever?
Well, it's excellent, your reflection, because you take different points. No? First, this is not exactly for relation people. This is under our Occidental culture.
Right.
If you take Hegel, some people, when I teach in the public university to my students, Hegel say, or theology, the people say, oh, this is Hegel. No, no. Hegel take the principle of the gospel, you know. So maybe you are not a relation person, but all these values or categories are under Occidental culture. Mm-hmm. In the case of Chile, for example, it's interesting because maybe 5 years ago, when the politics with the encuestas, the investment service in Chile, they say, oh, a lot of people is going out from the Catholicism. Wow, Chile is going to do a secular country, but they don't take in account that the people who go out to the Catholicism go to the Protestantism, the gospel evangelical, no? It's a problem because that line is not clear. In Brazil, in Chile, in Argentina, neither Colombia or Peru. Not only the people from evangelic religion are in the theology of the prosperity. Most of the Catholics are there too.
Oh.
No,
Okay.
it's important. It's so important. I can't tell you more about this because I have a camera there that I film my speech. But it's incredible because the problem there is not the religion, it's the money. The money is sacred. In that position, if you are rich, that is a sign because you did the things well. So, God bless you. So, your money is sacred. But if I am poor, it is because I did something wrong, and God is punish me, so I must try better. So next time maybe I have the possibility. We can see, I travel a lot around Latin America, like Catholic theologian, I work with the CELAM. In a conference like this, the people told me these things. So, it's not a problem, because if we think that the problem is between evangelic or Catholic, we go back in the history. The fight is not for religion. The fight always is for money. Yeah. The problem is that now they convince the poor people that the system is okay like this, and we must resist and kill everyone that tried to change the system, include the Pope Francis. It's a big problem.
My question is about, in some situations, you find multiple populisms.
Yeah.
So, typically in Africa, you have different political parties, popular leaders. Even here in the United States, you have, in the last election, you had Donald Trump, very popular, Bernie Sanders. So where you have these multiple populisms, how does the culture of encounter kind of help us to begin to think of something that transcends these, a unifier that can help to weave together the fragmentation of societies by these multiple?
Right. It's great. It's great the question, because we have no different populism. Because populism is not a party, it's not a person, it's not an ideology, it's a logic. Everywhere when we have this logic, where a person or a part of the society arrive at the power, at the government, and take a power through a good word articulated popular demands, there we have populism. So maybe this articulation in the state was by this entity signifying the wall between Mexico and United States. Maybe in Argentina was, killing all the Peronists, or killing Christina Kirchner. Or maybe in Africa, I don't know which is the empty signifier that can articulate that. But it's not different populisms. It's the same logic. It's the same logic. And in this case, Pope Francis, I think, I am not Pope Francis, and neither his interpreting. It's my word only. But I think Pope Francis is trying to put again the politics in the play. Politics, the unity, it's impossible that the unity be a demand. The politics must be a fight for rights, for the dignity of the human being. No? But this is, if you see, for example, it's not easy to found a program, a political program. No more political program, in Argentina, in Brazil, neither in Europe. For example, we can think in Macron. How famous was Macron 6 months before be the president? Nothing. Why the people vote for Macron? Because if you ask the French people, they have not another opportunity. Was Le Pen or Mélenchon, right or left? No, maybe this. What is this? Nothing. We're voting for him because he is nothing. That's crazy.
We're at 1 o'clock, so let me just thank you and ask us all to give you one more round of applause. Thank you all for coming.